Coming up, Susan Mastin helped form the Native American Student Association in college, and she's been a leader in Indian country ever since. She's one of our featured guests for Women's History Month. Plus, major stories from around the globe. And we learn about the newly formed council aiming to indigenize college athletics. I am Aaliyah Chavez. Join us for those interviews, plus headlines from the ICT Newscast.
Arizona PBS is proud to support Indian Country Today. For 6 decades, we've provided television programs and now digital content. But we go beyond that, sending outreach teams across Arizona, offering workshops in language and literacy, family engagement and community outreach, and supporting tribal communities with early learning and school readiness resources. Join us at azpbs.org.
This is the ICT Newscast with Aaliyah Chavez.
Amadawa Hopa, thank you for joining us. The Indian Health Service is one step closer to having a new leader. On Wednesday, President Joe Biden announced he is nominating Rosalind So as the next director of the IHS. The Navajo citizen will first have to be approved for the position by the U.S. Senate. Under Biden's administration, there has not yet been a permanent director of the agency. The position was being filled by Elizabeth Fowler, who is the acting director. So first began her career with the IHS in 1984, bringing almost 40 years of experience to the job. The Indian Health Service oversees healthcare and services for American Indians and Alaska Natives, and its annual budget is $7.4 billion. IHS employs over 15,000 people. A national task force in Canada is calling on police in Thunder Bay, Ontario, to reopen cases involving deaths of 14 Indigenous people. A deep review of sudden deaths dating back more than 2 decades is what uncovered these fatalities. The First Nations people were identified by a team of investigators tasked with poring over hundreds of sudden deaths since 2000 in Thunder Bay. And this investigation is part of the report Broken Trust, written by the Office of the Independent Police Review Director in 2018. Researchers found missing documentation and incomplete police investigations lacking consistency in these 15 cases. The special group of investigators were also tasked with looking for more deaths that were not handled properly. That investigation confirmed there are 25 unsolved cases of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls with Thunder Bay Police. These cases predate 2000 and have remained open and unresolved for over 20 years. First Nations citizens in Canada have been showing support for Ukrainians by wearing the traditional babushka, which is also known as a colorful kokum scarf. This isn't a new thing because these scarves originated from Ukraine. First Nations people have been wearing these kokum scarves for many years now, and some of us may affectionately know them as grandma scarves. Following the Russian invasion of Ukraine, the babushka has become a symbol of unification. It has spurred many Indigenous social media influencers to show their support for Ukrainian people. To read more about what they said, visit IndianCountryToday.com. Just search for the headline, Scarves of the Matriarchs. In California, one of the few Indigenous-owned wine labels, Keitha Wines, is closing its doors. ICT editor-at-large Mark Trahant spoke with the winemaker, Tara Gomez, who is one of the few Indigenous women to make wine.
12 years ago, the Santa Ynez Band of Chumash Indians purchased the Camp 4 vineyard and opened up their own label, Keitha Wines. The name itself was from the Samala language and means oak, valley oak.
Like I was using Keitha as a way to tell our story, the story of our tribe and our ancestors, and the connections all within that. So yeah, it was super important to be able to put the culture aspect as a way of storytelling.
Gomez said she is grateful for the tribe for investing in this project, even if it has come to a close.
So my new project, so yes, we're here, Camins to Dreams. This is my winery that I share with my wife, Mireia. We started this in 2017. And so Camins translates to path in Mireia's Catalan language. And through all the routes and paths that we have traveled, it has finally led us back here to my hometown, so the path to our dreams. And now we're living our dreams that, we had set very early on in life. One day I always dreamed about having my own winery and her as well. And so, yeah, we're finally doing it, and I couldn't be more proud. So yes, as one chapter closes, another one opens, and I strongly believe that, and I'm seeing it here with my own label of Camins to Dreams.
In Lompoc, California, Mark Trahant for the ICT Newscast.
A final tasting of the award-winning wine will be held in Lompoc, California. And those are the headlines for the ICT Newscast. Coming up, major stories from Australia, Canada, and others. Plus, how is the Indigenous Athletics Advancement Council working to indigenize the NCAA Women's Final Four game? We'll find out. As a college student at Oregon State University, Susan Mastin was elected president of the newly formed Native American Student Association. It must have been the spark that has led to her lifelong career as a political activist and advocate for women and tribal rights. She was the president of the National Congress of American Indians and has also led her tribe as chair and vice chairperson. In 2004, Susan founded the organization We Win, which stands for Women Empowering Women for Indian Nations. Welcome to the ICT Newscast, Susan.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Susan, I understand that you just got through with a board meeting for We Win. Tell us about the organization and its goals.
We Win was founded in 2004, as you said, to assist women who are currently in leadership, to uplift and encourage them and to rejuvenate them and to build up their spirits. And so also to prepare young women for leadership roles. We also pay tribute to the women who came before us for their sacrifices and contributions to allow us to enjoy the rights that we have today and for protecting our homelands and our culture, language, and traditions. So we do this based on our cultural and traditional values because those are important to all of us, and they are pretty consistent throughout Indian country. And we do this through personal and professional training developments that we do once a year. And so women come together to learn and share and network and build, contacts. Some find jobs, some end up running for council or national positions simply because they attended We Win and were able to see other women role models in leadership positions. And so, and the encouragement and support that we offered while they were there gave them that kind of strength and courage to step forward and serve in a leadership role. So that's pretty much why we exist.
One of the main things that has always stood out to me about We Win is really the array of women in professional roles across Indian country. We have everything from politics to, I've even seen librarians, I've seen language speakers, I've seen doulas. It really is a wide range of women in these professional spaces. Maybe talk about the diversity of these women.
So as we look at leadership, it's important that we be the best that we can be in whatever role that we are in. And that's consistent with who we are traditionally and culturally, because it was noticed when we were young, the gifts that we were given by the Creator, and those gifts were fine-tuned throughout our life. And women helped to mold and shape us so that we could be the best to serve our tribal communities. And so that's really what we're trying to do at We Win. And in doing that, it doesn't matter if you're the secretary or the receptionist, you are the face that people see and hear first. And so you represent the company or tribe that you're working for. And so you need to be the best that you can be in that role. If you're in tribal leadership, it's a difficult role, and we want you to have the tools and the network and the support that you need to be able to fulfill those duties that you have to your tribal communities. But if you're in business, we also want you to succeed because small businesses are what creates economic stability in communities. So we want you to thrive and be successful in your business venture. So it's really about just being the best that you can be and having the tools and support and networks that you need to be able to do your job effectively.
Susan, talking about women who have molded you, I'm really curious in your personal life, who are some of the women who you've admired in your time in your professional career?
And so because there weren't a lot of leaders in my time, starting my career and throughout my career, who shaped me was my grandmother and my mother. And what they instilled in me when I was very young is that if you work hard, that you can be anyone or anything that you want to be, and you can do anything. And so I never had an attitude where I didn't think I could do something. I just automatically assumed I could do it, whether it was, sheetrocking a wall or, creating an organization or running for president of the National Congress or running for the chair of my tribe. It gave me that strong foundation of good work ethics to work hard. And they were very strong about getting an education and to just go for whatever it was that, I dreamed of. Unfortunately, that's not always what happened. Sometimes you don't get to choose your path, and that happens often in tribal government, that there others choose you, and if you have the gifts and from the Creator that provided to you and people call upon you, then you have an obligation to use those gifts to help your communities the best that you can.
Sure. Susan, we only have a short time left, but as I mentioned, March is Women's History Month. If you are speaking to a Native woman right now who maybe needs an encouraging word, what do you say to them?
Prayer is powerful, and our people relied on prayer, and that you need to pray every day and remember to include the prayers for yourself so that you can be the best that you can be. And so that there is, all things are possible if you believe, and you need to believe in yourself, because there are many times when you will not have the support of others, and you need to be strong in the foundation of who you are as a Native woman, to know your culture and your traditions, because that is what's going to give you the strength and courage to be able to be successful in your life.
Susan, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. This time just flew by. And I want to say, women, please remember the women in Ukraine and keep them in your prayers. We all know what it's like to have to be forced out of your homelands and to leave your family apart and to have your way of life disrupted or taken away from you. And so we, of all women, need to have empathy and compassion and be prayerful for the women and children of Ukraine.
According to data from the National Collegiate Athletic Association, Native Americans make up the smallest percentage of student athletes in Division I sports. Now, a group of former athletes and athletic professionals are working to address this problem. Earlier this year, they formed the Indigenous Athletics Advancement Council. One of the members is Nicole Bean, who has studied and worked with advancing Natives in collegiate athletics. She is currently the Associate Athletics Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at the University of Oklahoma. Hi, Nicole. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Shaylee and Mando, for having me. I appreciate it.
So tell us about the IAAC and why it was created.
Yeah, so the IAAC, or the Indigenous Athletics Advancement Council, is an organization that looks to promote the advancement of Indigenous people through sport. So for us, our mission is to educate, promote, empower, and activate Indigenous peoples and communities around movement, physical fitness, and sport. So we aim to disrupt that colonial system that impacts modern Indigenous people with the goal of integrating our people into leadership and decision-making roles in sports business. And so I think you mentioned a key thing of the regards to the numbers or the lack thereof. And so for us, there's a lot of great grassroots initiatives for Indigenous or Native youth. And we really wanted to complement those activations or organizations, which is why you see our group focusing on leadership and those that are in decision-making roles within that sports business.
I understand one of your first orders of business was to address the Final Four women's NCAA game. Tell us about that and what you're planning to do in Minneapolis.
Correct. So just kind of started with Jessie Stomsky-Syme. She is serving on the local host committee for the Final Four. She is Muskogee Creek, former basketball player, both at the collegiate level and then also professionally. And so she kind of got the group together, reaching out to me and just saying, the significance of this platform that we could have at the Final Four and really look into Indigenize it. And what were some ways that we could do that? And so we begin to kind of plan that. And so, again, out of those conversations, our organization was formed. And within the Final Four now, we've been able to really put some great activations together. And so, of course, we'll see the land acknowledgement throughout. We'll also have it in arena video that will be played not only in the semifinals, but also in the championship game. That is going to be highlighting former Native American student athletes, and then also those issues of equality or equity that we see within collegiate sports. We also have a halftime performance that'll be taking place with traditional Durham dance and song. And so that's going to be Midnight Express and the Minnesota Dancers. We also have secured 150 tickets for the semifinals and then also for the championship games. And so we're working with local organizations to ensure that those go to Native American families and youth, so they can expose them or have that opportunity to be part or take part in this high level of competition that we see at the NCAA. We've also partnered with Hoop Medicine. So we're going to be offering a youth basketball clinic on Saturday between the championship and the semifinals. So that'll be on Saturday. That's going to be at the Minneapolis American Indian Center. That's also followed by a community feast. So we're looking at those that are participating in the clinic coming, as well as some tribal members and some special guests. And then we'll also be presenting at the Women's Basketball Coaches Association Conference. We'll have a panel that's going to be doing a learning lab, and that will cover recruitment and retention of Native American student athletes. And so really looking to engage with coaches and administrators further there and continue those conversations about just the importance of sport, the importance of historically of sports in Native American community, the great talent that comes out of Indian country, and really trying to equip them with tools to recruit, but also from the administration level. Not only, as you mentioned, do Native Americans have the lowest participation rate, but when we look at leadership positions within collegiate athletics, that number is extremely low as well. And so oftentimes, if we're going to make true change, we have to get in where those decisions are being made and where those leadership positions are at. And so we're really looking to connect with coaches and administrators during that time as well.
One of the things that always stands out to me is, as you said, the number of Native collegiate athletes is really low, but there are total superstars. Like you see these Native basketball players. I mean, it really ranges the gamut of sports, but it really seems like even though the numbers are small, Native people just really rise to the occasion and say, I'm here and I'm going to perform my best.
Right. And I agree. And I think we've done a better job moving forward of really highlighting and promoting our people. Also on our founding members is Brent. And I think you've had him on here before, Brent Kawi with Indian Sports. And so I think him and his organization do a really great job. And then I haven't mentioned everybody that sits within our organization, but we have Dr. Natalie Welch at Linfield. She's Eastern Band of Cherokee. Dr. Elise Alley Joseph, she's Choctaw, she's at Northern Arizona. And so I think we have a great group that's able to really highlight across the nation as well. But again, Brent's been in this industry for 20 years, highlighting Native American athletes. And so just a great group of people that we have, and looking forward to continuing the work and truly creating change within Indian country.
Nicole, thank you so much.
Moto, thank you.
From Canada to Australia, there are Indigenous people all around the globe. That's why Indian Country Today launched a new column called Global Indigenous. This weekly roundup of Indigenous news from all over the world publishes on Wednesday mornings on IndianCountryToday.com. ICT's senior editor Diana Hunt oversees the content, and she's back with this week's roundup. Hi, Diana. Let's just jump right in. What's happening in Australia?
Yeah, Australia's been really busy this last week. Part of the issue is the war in Ukraine. The invasion of Ukraine has prompted protests all around the world, all over the place. But in Australia, the Indigenous people there have stepped up in support of the Ukrainians. There was a group of the Maori and the Aboriginal community showing their support outside of Ukrainian Catholic Church in the town of Maylands, which is in Western Australia. It's probably pronounced Mayland, but they performed a haka. They did a traditional Aboriginal ceremonial dance and stood in support. One of the participants there who had helped organize it said that they had been asked to show their support by a Ukrainian Polish man who was there. So there was some real show of support there in Australia. Australia has also had a couple of other issues. They've also got problems in a different area where we have a bridge project that could destroy some 20-something heritage sites that are there. They want to put a bridge project through. The tribe says tribal Indigenous members there and communities in those areas were told they didn't have a choice. Either you approve this or there's not going to be a bridge. And they said they felt that they were pressured to not to oppose it, but they are opposing it. There's a well-known Indigenous senator in Australia, Dorinda Cox, who has spoken out and is read the statement from the Indigenous communities opposing the project. And the question now is what's going to happen to this project? Where does it go? And are they going to be willing to work not to destroy some of these areas? One of the areas that could be destroyed in the project is an Aboriginal rock shelter that has been around for centuries, decades, millennia. So it's been an important issue that they're dealing with.
Let's jump over to Canada. I know there's a few stories that came from Canada this past week. Tell us about those.
Right, Canada's always they're busy up there. We have the residential school system in Canada, which has drawn a lot of attention. As they continue to find more unmarked graves and to continue to search for remains of children who died in those schools. We have a Mi'kmaq elder who is pushing the Pope to issue an apology. The Pope has never issued an apology for the Catholic Church's handling of the residential schools that it operated. She has written a letter. She's calling on the Pope to apologize, and she's planning to take a crew to the Vatican later this month. So the trip's coming up. And her group of 12 people will include some residential school survivors, as she is, elders and youth representatives to try to make another attempt to get an apology from the church. She attended residential schools, Phyllis Gugu, and she said that she can't shake the trauma of what she saw and what she experienced there. And she believes fully that there needs to be an apology, a formal apology from Pope Francis.
And actually, another story in Canada had to do with an investigation on some oil and gas projects. Tell us about that.
Right. Yeah. There was the Indigenous Service Canada operates the Indian Oil and Gas of Canada, which has apparently got a real reputation as a bad place to work. And an independent investigation, a consultant was brought in to evaluate what's going on there and what the perception is among the staff. And it was the consultant concluded that there was stunning racism. That's a quote from them: stunning racism in this organization, in this agency, that there's rampant discrimination, and that the staff there is the employees are pressured and feel very uncomfortable working there. They said it had developed into a workplace where harassment is ignored or even tolerated. Conflict goes unresolved and does not go away, but develops into acrimonious relationships. So it sounds like a nightmare place to work. Once again, the question is, what are they going to do about it now that they know it? So we'll be watching to see where that goes and what they need to do about it.
Sure. And again, our viewers can learn more about these stories at our website. Diana, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And that's a slice of our Indigenous world. For more news, visit IndianCountryToday.com. From all of us in the newsroom, stay safe, my relatives. I am Aaliyah Chavez.
Sometimes you got to take a stand just because you know you can. Oh, you got to run, you got to run.